Yo, what's up, you guys? It's K-Sate here, and today we're gonna pick the winner of the audio bar contest for that EDM drum pack, and we're gonna also do a writing session. So let's just go ahead and pick somebody. All right, so I picked this guy at random. You won. Send me your email. This is on Camlol. If you don't know how to contact me, just check the description. My website is there, and you can just send me an email through there. So there you go, buddy. Don't give me your email, hopefully, in a comment, because then people will see that. But, anyways, let's continue on with the writing session. So I write these little phrases and I put them all together, and it's very easy then to just kind of make that phrase sound as good as you want, and keep working on it, and then just to be able to stretch it out into a whole track. So most of the times I find my best tracks through just doing like phase writing like this, just writing in one little spot and then just kind of figuring out how structure goes with all that. And once I really like it, it's so easy. It's almost like it happens naturally just to just add an intro, put some more breakdowns in there, add more effects into it, and just kind of stretch it out into a more themed piece. So let's get started on example number 1. I'll play you what I have already so you can get an idea of what this is and how it goes, and then we'll change it up and write it all from scratch. So just like that, you saw how it all kind of tied into itself, and it was all the same part. It was the same melody, the same chords. Maybe it changed to different layers. Maybe the bass line kicked in only in one part, but it was all based off of the same thing. So it was really easy to just kind of quickly write in one phase, like one 4-bar increment, find something that really worked in that loop of 4 bars, and then just stretch it out and put the proper effects and the proper kick to make everything feel like different parts. So in a weird way, it teaches you song structure, like what really makes a new part feel like a new part without having to change other things. Like I can keep my chords, I can keep my main melody theme, but by adding or taking out things or adding different layers, it makes it feel like a different part. So it's really, it's so simple that it teaches you the basics, and it's kind of like a great way to learn from just experiencing what changes and what doesn't work. So I can go on and on about this, but I think you got what I mean. All right, so I've deleted everything, not really deleted it. I just kind of made it inactive so that way I can still overwrite my automations. But now I like to write on piano because piano feels honest. The harmonics feel real, and it's the most honest way to interpret your ideas. So that's why I like writing on piano, and it's kind of easy just to go with chords, turn chords into other layers, and then turn those chords into bass line, and then just already there you have a good bass to lay a melody on top of. So let's go ahead and just start writing. So I've had people ask me the question before of when I'm writing chords, am I thinking about, actual kind of chords, or if I'm just kind of placing notes randomly on the piano roll? And the answer is kind of both. Like sometimes I'm trying to figure out, like with my hands on the keyboard, actual chords that I would play, and sometimes I'm just only going at the piano roll, just kind of putting notes wherever it sounds good to my ear. So using the little piano fold trick here, it's really easy to kind of just let go and play around with what sounds good instead of trying to focus on this is a this type of chord or whatever. I'm like so much better at just creating in the piano roll than thinking about it too much. Because if I think about it too much, I'm gonna make something I've made before already. So what we made here is a very basic, like held out sort of piece. It's very, very simple. This is like as simple as I keep it. A lot of times I like to kind of mix it up and kind of get like a sort of Galatas kind of piano intro thing kind of going, something that has some rhythm, kind of something that just is very bouncy feeling. So I'll play around with like 16th notes and kind of go into all these sorts of different chord kind of rhythms, and that's really fun. But I've said this before that if you make your chords too complicated, then it's kind of harder to put a melody on top, or your melody has to be really dumbed down, or it has to be like a texture kind of melody, like something that is held out like something like this, but it's just like a melody kind of line. At this point, if I'm keeping this simple, that allows me to make bass line, melody more complicated. So you have to kind of think about what you're giving up when you do something, or what it means for other things when you do something. So I'm just kind of putting that into perspective. So that's why I always start with pianos this simple. And if I feel like it's too boring or just too generic, I can come back and chop these up into a nice little rhythm. So if you don't know what I mean by that is I would just select everything, chop it up into shorter notes, and just sort of find a rhythm. So this is kind of how I would do it. I would just sort of maybe find something like this. I don't know. I kind of didn't mean to do that little part right there, but let's hear this. But like, you can get crazy with rhythms and kind of keep it fun, and that kind of works too. And what I've also done in the past is also write something like this for an intro piece, and then once I get to the main chorus or the drop of the song, it goes into long sustained held out notes, and that allows my melody to be crazy. So sometimes you can write a melody rhythm in your chords just like this, and then when it comes time to go into the main drop or whatever you want to call that, you then kind of figure out your melody from this rhythm, and then just figure out your chords from like sustaining these notes out. So going back to how it was, like this. Now that we have that, we can just go ahead and duplicate this, and let's color it because that makes it a lot easier. So I'll do it a bright sort of yellow. All right, so I've duplicated this into place, and I kind of put these new chords over the old ones that were inactive. So I like seeing the inactive ones instead of deleting it, because then I can just follow the structure exactly how it was before and not have to think about it. So it becomes very copy paste, get to the idea quickly, and then once I'm there, I can play around with it and tweak it more. All right, now let's get to the bass. So the bass comes from the chords, so I'm just going to go ahead and copy some chords over here, shorten it appropriately so I can see from the other one that this is how it will play. And from here, I just kind of select everything except the bottom line and just mute it. So just like that, and I can even bring this line up a little higher because it's a little too low for my synth. So bringing it up an octave should play out a little bit better. And let's copy and paste this now to the other layer. So I have two bass layers and they're in the same octave. So it's really important that if you're gonna have a lot of layers, try to keep them all in the same octave. So like all my bass layers, I can keep playing around the second octave, and I don't have to go into each MIDI clip and transpose them or whatever. If you need to do that, I recommend using the MIDI effects and using the pitch tool. So if I do have a bass line that needs to be an octave higher to play it right with the same MIDI that I'm copying and pasting from everything else, I'll just drop one of these in there and just make it fit. So that's an easy way to keep everything like so that you only have to use one MIDI clip for all these different layers. Okay, so now you can see that we have the piano, the bass, and the chords all figured out from just that little thing that I wrote. And now all we got to do is listen to it and try to kind of imagine a melody over it. So I like to always do this and just imagine or hum along a melody in my head as I'm listening to everything else. And that makes it a lot easier to know where to start writing. So let's go ahead and just play this. Alright, so I just listened to it. I kind of have a melody in my head that I was sort of humming along to, so I think I'm going to just go ahead and try to figure that one out. And that's usually how this all goes. I figure out the melody, and once it's there, it's done. And I can tweak it, like make the chords better if I want. I can try to play around more with the melody, but once this all works, once you have this whole phrase working and you really do love it, it's so easy then just to make a save as of this session, delete everything else out, and start expanding this into a 5-minute track. It's really easy. And like, even if you're still going to add in new parts, other drops, breakdowns, intros, whatever you want, it all kind of should come from this structure. So I encourage you guys to make the structure that you practice writing and your phase writing to kind of reflect how you like your songs to go. And usually I'll just solo the piano and the melody at first, just kind of working against those two. But I also like to work in a context. I believe in mixing and writing in a context. So it's very easy to solo something, work in a bubble, just listening to only that thing, and then kind of lose sight of the bigger picture. So I like to kind of work in a context or work with other layers. I think right now at this point it's easiest to write with piano, just piano, and write the melody. So we'll do that. All right, so I hope you get an idea of how this all comes together. I kept it very, very simple. Safe is what I call that. I kept it very safe. I knew that stuff was gonna kind of work together. I mean, it's not very exciting to me, but it's safe. And I encourage you guys, when you do this, to try safe and then try new things, try risky, try everything. Honestly, just try everything. Try the safe things. Try the things that you think are boring and mainstream. Try the things that are very complex and you're the only one that can write that piece. Try everything, because that's the best way to figure out your language as a writer. And that's it. That's all I have time for. Usually I do multiple melodies and parts, but there was a lot that I explained in this one, so that took up all the time. So I will do this again very soon. I'm not going to keep spacing these out as long. So thanks guys for watching, and of course,